Yes, welcome to this opening panel. We are about to set the scene for the conference with the major topics of innovation, collaboration, and as we'll see, the software-defined vehicles is one of the key trends in the automotive industry, in the automotive transformation. As has been said, please be active also during these 40 minutes of the panel discussion. Please ask questions, vote the ones that are most important to you so that the experts here on stage may answer these interesting questions. And I'm very happy that I have top-level executives here on stage as key experts. Directly next to me, Dr. Michel Bensel. He's the SVP and Head of Digital Business and Mobility Services at CARIAD. Michel, welcome to stage. We have Gilles Mabire. He's the CTO of Continental Automotive Technologies GmbH. And Augustin Friedel, Senior Manager Mobility Transformation at MHP, a Porsche company. So welcome to stage to the three of you. I would like to kick off the discussion by asking you for a first introductory statement on your current view on the industry and basically what's the status of your company at the moment, and we will go into, of course, deeper content afterwards. Michel, may I start with you for CARIAD?
Thank you. So yeah, huge transformation, huge transformative phase within the industry, and I would like to start from a customer perspective, seeing that software more and more becomes a really defining key criteria for a vehicle purchase, which on the other side for us as a manufacturer means that this needs significantly more focus. It's not about building cars, adding software. It's about developing software-defined vehicles, thinking the vehicle from the experience point of view, from the inside out, to really be successful in the marketplace.
Okay, customer focus, surely one of the topics that we will cover and we'll have in the panel discussion also rather at the beginning. Gilles, what about Conti?
Software-defined vehicle is probably the biggest transformation we are facing right now as industry players in the entire ecosystem. And basically, I would summarize the SDV like a kind of iceberg. There is a visible part, which is what the customer will benefit from, which is probably the visible revolution. And there is an invisible part of the iceberg, which is the invisible transformation that affects not only what we develop together or for our customers or for the end customers, but how we develop things, increasing the complexity and mastering these technical challenges in front of us. At the end of the day, we need not to lose the focus, the North Star, I would say, which is which value do we bring to the end user, which pain point do we solve into the industry, which new experience can we bring to reconciliate sometimes the population with the mobility as such. And that is, for me, what is software-defined vehicle all about. That is why it's so complex to define software-defined vehicle in a couple of words, and was it, I think, in the industry, so emotional and important topic for us to master the transformation and control and master the complexity of the software, as you mentioned before, which is going to transform our industry.
Okay, so also for you, SDV in the center, customer focus first, but then later the question also how to master that, topics we will go into detail about. And Augustin, your view with regard from MHP, Porsche, a company, but maybe also on the overall industry. You have a broad industry overview.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the beauty of my job is that we not only work with suppliers and OEMs, also with other parts of the mobility value chain. And there's the same like huge transformation. Doesn't matter where we look at, like suppliers, the OEMs, but also the captive leasing companies, the cities, etc. Yeah, so it's a multi-dimensional transformation, I would say, not only like affecting the OEMs, it's affecting the whole mobility ecosystem. And that's quite dynamic. Yeah, so we see up and downs of the different trends, of the different technologies, different players, etc. So that's definitely one part, or status quo. And then the second one is, okay, the different players, they have realized that they need to do something. Yeah, and some of them have woken up to, okay, we need new technologies, we need new maybe mechanisms to think about the customers, etc. Yeah, so they realize that they need to change. The big challenge they have is how to change. Yeah, especially if they are like one of the the big legacy companies, with like existing teams, existing processes, etc. So this is, in my perspective, the one big challenge they're working on. Okay, how to basically transform also the organization, how to adjust the processes so that it becomes more customer-centric, as Gilles mentioned, or Michael also.
Very good. So we have a story already. So the SDV, customer focus, then later the challenges and how to overcome and organize. Maybe we also ask you what your view basically is of the current state of the industry, but more so even what you regard as the key future trends for the automotive industry. This is our first poll, and as Daniel has explained in his introductory statement, this is a word cloud. So please ideally type one word, and you may also type one that you already see, because the words that get the most mentionings here are highlighted bigger, and we can have an overview here already on stage. What do you think are the most important future trends for the transformation of the automotive industry? And the first thing that popped up was generative AI. Michel, may I ask you already, what is your key view on that topic?
A super exciting topic, apparently, also for the industry. Looking at on the one side, the vehicle as a digital experience device that's more than just driving. So what can we do with generative AI in the interior of the vehicle? I think super exciting collaborations out there. It's not about building everything ourselves, but really figuring out how can we collaborate and team up with folks out there that spearhead generative AI. Again, you know, it can be part of customer experience within the vehicle, but also will help us moving forward to address some of the super complex software development issues.
Okay, I wanted to ask, can you give a specific example? So the way that software is developed, obviously one of the key applications of generative AI. Anything else?
Well, you know, from a customer point of view, the experience within the vehicle, be it through digital assistants, for instance, that grow and grow and grow, also through generative AI. I think that's a huge field, rather than controlling only vehicle functions. Really using the vehicle as an experience device that can answer to the customer's needs in a more intelligent way.
Interesting. Augustin, Gilles, please go ahead if you have a view on this.
Yeah. For us, AI has two pillars. The one is improving all processes into the company, because we need to stay competitive on the market in front of the huge technology breakthrough. And everything that helps all of our processes in development, starting from requirement interpretation down to test verification through the software coding with Copilot solutions, will be adopted and is on the way to be adopted, because for us, the main driver is speed. Therefore, we need to speed up our activity. We need to cope with a new reference on the market, so to say, on how to and how fast to develop cars. And the second pillar, as you mentioned before, is how to create new user experience using artificial intelligence. Of course, large language model for user at the end of the day. When it comes to assisted driving solution or autonomous driving solution, how to make system more reliable and open the door for level 3 and level 4 activities. And all of that to, on one side, create uniqueness for the user, on the other end, to improve significantly our processes. And there is a huge opportunity using Gen AI as such in all steps of processes and operation into a big organization.
Okay, Augustin, what's your view, importance of Gen AI? Which applications are already there or ready to start soon?
Yeah, so I would agree with Michel and Gilles on the importance. It's super exciting, and we are like at the beginning of like a marathon to figure out what we can do with AI in like the mobility ecosystem. So looking in the industry, I see the hype of, let's say, the ChatGPT enabled assistants in the vehicles. I'm personally not that sure if that's if we will live up to this hype, or if it will then come down again. But as Gilles mentioned, I see then also more potential of AI in the like processes behind as a co-pilot for like software coding, for testing, for quality assurance, but also then if it comes to then assistant drivers or like ADAS systems, etc. I think there's more let's say value in AI in the things behind the curtain or below the surface, basically to improve them and make the products more or better, more customer friendly. The biggest challenge, I would say, in the industry is then, okay, to first capture all the different data points that you need to fill in the large language models to be then able to drive the customer experience and the improvements. So I think this is then again, like the one of the challenges the industry is working on, okay, how to set up and combine the different data pools that are there, how to set up then the large language models, and how to then basically use this data to improve then like everything.
Maybe we stick a minute with that topic, because I also see the second question here: what are the most promising AI tools in the nearer future? And you also now mentioned kind of main challenge, data pool, data lake. Maybe we hear Michel on that, on a more technical note, how to manage the data for applying, for example, AI tools.
Yeah, I think the data that we extract from vehicles is going to increase by a tremendous amount. I mean, for the time being, there's just little data that manufacturers actually pull from the vehicles. Back in the days, it was the data that was pulled out in the shops, so to say. But now, really, we get data in real time. Basically, all data that's generated into a vehicle, we can work with, and that data for us actually is quite overwhelming without using intelligent tools. I mean, we can continue to start to apply sort of smart algorithms to it, but eventually AI and AI tools will be necessary in order to sort of like digest that type of big data and actually derive outcomes of it.
Yeah,
okay. Gilles, would you also like to comment? How do you manage data, if I may ask, kind of broad way?
Every big company is generating every seconds, milliseconds data, and the discussion is how to orchestrate this and how to use that in a comprehensive way. And we definitely have a strategy on data-driven developments, which of course require a lot of discipline and adaptation into our processes. What I'm always amazed about when we see, at least in the 6 past months, on our tools based on generative AI synthetic data improved. And one of the game changers is as well to master the complexity of level 3 or level 4 development. We are engaged in many projects right now with different customers, and how to retrain on a virtual environment algorithm and identify new corner cases that we can use to retrain raw data fusion of our different sensors into the car. And that is amazing, the speed you can achieve by putting these elements into your processes and getting your solutions mature on a more or less daily basis. And for me, it's a game changer, because conventional system, deterministic system, will never be able to bring the right and the appropriate solution on the market. Therefore, it's something we invest massively in, we believe in, and we are partnering with many companies to help us in that journey.
Okay. Augustin, you mentioned in your answer to the former question, basically already ChatGPT. Do you have any tip, let's say, on another most promising specific tool or AI software which is there, which you say it's the upcoming big thing?
It's very hard to answer. I mean, they're like the environment. They're so dynamic. There are new tools basically every day. I think that's what we see in software development with like co-pilots and like the different platforms, etc. There's already like enormous like efficiency. Yeah, I can't mention like any specific tool there.
Okay. Do your companies use AI tools like in R&D at the moment? Gilles, you're already...
Yes. The biggest problem or topic, so to say, is not the use of this solution, is to comply with our internal rules, because no one in that room probably would love to see his software code somewhere on the cloud. Therefore, we need to, of course, create around each and every company the right boundaries, the right condition that everyone can use it in a safe space, and making sure that we do not help the other to train the algorithm with our own know-how. And that is where it takes time to align with compliance department, legal, contractual things. But basically, we have good experience already using this tool, ChatGPT, Copilot, and some others, which prove that at the end of the day, we can make significant progress. And we have run some pilots, and we see definitely some efficiency improvement.
Okay. Michel,
Yeah, same with our company, actually,
okay.
I would argue.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned, and that was one of the results, let's say, from the first round here. So customer focus is key. Let's start with that, and maybe let us also go back that one step. So if we see customer requirements, current ones and maybe also future ones, how do you describe them? What is it that you need to target for then with your companies and the automotive industry overall? Maybe start with Augustin here on that.
I think it's hard to, or I can't tell you what the customer experience or demands are. Yeah, that's different brand by brand.
Okay.
I think there it's more like the key aspect. What's important is to basically change then the philosophy in the companies to like come from a product-driven setup to a customer-centric or like lifetime-driven approach. Yeah, where we have then like the tools in place to capture the different data from your customers, from the ecosystems the customers are in, basically drive then from this data you have collected, then the features, and from there then like software and hardware. So I think that's then the big challenge the OEMs or the industry is facing, to especially like the traditional ones, to shift the mindset, how to prioritize a product, how to set up then a product coming more from a customer, less from like the technology and the product itself. Yeah, so that's the more like the basic principle that needs to change. And then, okay, if you have there the setup and you capture the different data points from your customers, either from the cars or maybe then also from the ecosystems they're in, maybe the different services they use in their cars, etc., then you have quite a good like profile of your customer today, and you could then or can anticipate in the future, and from there then basically build your product and service ecosystem. Okay, I think that's the big challenge the industry is working on. Again, like the industry has recognized that. It's more okay how to get there and how to transform there, and like Michel or then also all the other OEMs, I think they put a lot of effort in there to get there.
Yeah. Okay. So how what's your view of the customer today and in the future?
I think, and sorry for my words, I think we have reached the limit of traditional development, where there is a specification put to the end of suppliers, and this guy tried to elaborate a product around this with a lot of loops and sometimes endless loops, and that is something we cannot afford anymore because the complexity is increasing drastically. The time to market is expected to reduce, and we need to come to a different working model. Collaboration is key, therefore we need as well to agree on some high-level principle and focusing on customer experience as first, and bringing the partner that will be able together to elaborate and bring a solution. It's easy to say, more complex to implement, but the traditional way where we have been teach, so to say, in that industry to get requirements, bring them down, and up to the latest single software requirement is not possible anymore, simply from the magnitude. And therefore, the new models for me are how to describe high-level requirements, how to work on the architecture and the system definition in a transparent way, that we get the right flexibility, the right interface, and that needs to be defined with extremely good accuracy, but that everyone provides his added value. And added value in that context is not to digest faster than anyone else the complexity of requirements which sometimes are not mature enough to try to elaborate something, but to bring USP assets and combine them to build an amazing customer experience. And that is, for me, also the learning when we see in different regions on how different car makers, so to say, especially in China, are working, and they achieve sometimes better result by having different recipe, and that is something we need to question as well from our traditional development methods.
Yeah, okay, but let's say, wouldn't you say there are, let's say, certain types of requirements and they're somehow changing, that first of all are there and that should be met? So it's also, there's one question coming up, the requirement of an affordable car. We're also talking now here, of course, of digital experiences, maybe also seamless digital experiences that you have when you get into the car. So it will be another requirement. Or how's your view, Michel, of the customer now? And
I would, adding to the two colleagues, I would add that what customers really want is staying up to date. And that's a huge paradigm shift for us in the industry. I mean, and it puts a lot of challenges in front of us. Back in the days, we were releasing vehicles. There was SOP, then there were facelift, another SOP. The successor comes in. That's basically it. Almost like fire and forget. So now what we see is, in order to allow customers to remain up to date, we have to continuously release software into the vehicles, which again means that the technical complexity of the EE architecture needs to be significantly more simple than the past. So coming from tens and tens of different compute units within the vehicle, we have to get back to very few or maybe even one, like some of the key competitors, because otherwise we will not allow ourselves to have regular over-the-air updates, for instance. And that again is basically coming from what customers learned outside of the industry, basically driven by smartphones, into the vehicle, into the automotive industry, and affects us deeply into the R&D and product development process.
Good. So staying up to date, seamless experience. Again, affordability. I have to ask the question again. One of the biggest customer requirements is affordability. Why do the European OEMs struggle to make affordable cars while Chinese automakers dominate in the below 20K market, Augustin?
Yeah, that's not an easy to answer question, I would say. One is definitely, I mean, if you look into China, I think there like subsidies are also like one reasons why we have so many brands there with like so many like then also like affordable cars in this segment, especially in the EVs. I think here in Europe, I mean, we work with a different cost base. We have like different mechanisms in the industry, and I think there it's then way more challenging and tricky to come up then with attractive price points. I mean, maybe we have also different social standards, different like then let's say how we treat the employees, etc. Social setups. I mean, that's then all driving costs. We have the legacy of the companies that have then like the different teams, the different facilities where they need to set up then a business case so that it works out. So I think there are like multiple reasons why there's like the difference between then like the Chinese let's say low cost vehicles and then more expensive cars here. It's not easy to answer.
Michel, what would you say? Because I heard a bit also. Keep it simple, so maybe then also scale is possible to a certain extent? Or
yeah, but I would argue to that question. I mean, sub 20K vehicles, there's not so many, especially when you look into the electrified sector, and especially not in Europe. And I guess it's a fair ambition of the big manufacturers, and we as a Volkswagen Group also have that ambition to bring affordable EVs to market, or more affordable EVs than we have today. But the technology is still expensive. The battery package is one of the key cost drivers of it. We have to come up with new EE architectures. That's huge investments across the industry for every manufacturer. I would argue that technology, as it moves forward, as battery technology moves forward, we're going to get there. But for the time being, it's really tough, and eventually you have to make money of it. I mean, it's a business, and we have to make money of the vehicles that we sell in order to reinvest and actually come up with new technology. So I think the vehicles, especially in the EV sector, below 20,000 euros for the time being, tough to achieve.
Gilles.
I think for European OEMs is not to copy-paste what we observe in China, but to create what is affordable car for European market, which may be a bit different from the Chinese one. And that require, on one side, on the technical side, huge and faster integration capabilities. And I'm convinced that in Europe, we have all the brains to be able to elaborate on how to integrate faster the hardware into the car. The second element is, of course, to look at the car as a kind of light client, and probably there are many hardware we could remove into the car by having a lot of things done on the cloud with different user experience, for sure. You will not get the same user experience, but probably you will have opportunity to create different user experience. And the last but not least, we need to be careful because everyone focuses on the price. We need as well to focus on the profitability of the car makers and creating affordable car means as well to create sustainability and profitability business around this, and it's today not proven. Therefore, I think we need not to underestimate the pricing power of the Chinese industry, especially in Europe. We need as well to not to copy-paste and find our own way in Europe to offer what we mean affordable car for the European customers, using the technologies and rethinking what should be into the car and what's not. Sometimes we have made cars from engineer for engineers. I'm engineer, but it's not always fitting the market, and we need to be extremely pragmatic. Putting the customer in the center of all of our consideration and looking right or left what people buying car really need.
Yeah, okay, good. Taking that, and this is obviously the question that really interests most here is how will the industry overall develop? Who will gain or lose power in the future? And then, let's say, with the final question, who will win at the end? Will it be software companies that build vehicles or conventional OEMs? Augustin, what is your view on the industry there?
Yeah, I think there again, it's not an either-or question. Yeah, so it's also when we work with customers, we often get like, is it black or white? Yeah, I would say it's not the case. There's room for like many players. Yeah, so we will see traditional conventional OEMs who will master basically the way to a software-defined vehicle and to, let's say, the new age. Yeah, so that also needs to be clear that it's not like an either-or like question, and that it doesn't need to happen from one day to another, like at a certain point, and later we have like software-defined vehicle, and before it's nothing. Yeah, so that's not true. Yeah, so it's like an incremental way how we get there, and there I see a lot of like activities in the industry in the different like also segments. From luxury, premium, but also volume. Yeah, so I think they're traditional or conventional OEMs, as asked here, they will have a future there also, and they will get there. It will take time, and it's not happening from today to tomorrow. And then, okay, on the other side, we have like new entrants. Yeah, from the software side, Tesla, or then also from China. They will bring a lot of innovation into the industry. But as Gilles mentioned, okay, what about their profitability? Yeah, so Tesla, okay, is, but if you look then to other players in the industry, Rivian, Lucid in the US, but also to the Chinese one, yeah, it's quite challenging for them as well. Apple also announced, okay, they're not following up with their Project Titan or like car projects, etc. Yeah, so I would say it's not either or. We will see like successful players from both sides. Yeah, conventional OEMs will transition more to like software-driven vehicles, and then also like software companies are coming in. Let's see if they really like cover the whole value chain, or if they maybe do some parts of it, software, other systems, etc. And then they take partners for like engineering and production of the vehicles, as we see also today in China with like Hubei and Ion, for example, or then also other companies. Yeah, so I would say it's a mix. There's no black and white answer.
I will come to you in a second, but I want you to ask the next question. Dare you say which OEM will be in trouble first, Augustin?
Oh, I can't answer this question. I think it's,
yeah. Okay, good. Now coming back to the former question, who will win? Maybe it is also OEMs with software units rather than software company here and OEM over there. Michel, what is your view of the development of the industry?
That's why I do work for a software company within an OEM, right? So hopefully both
That's
wins,
why
sort of. But I would argue that, you know, depending on where we're at, you have a different starting point. And I saw one of the earlier questions, I think, in the very beginning of the conference, how optimistic or pessimistic are you about the industry? And I'm super optimistic, because what I see every day is that everyone wants to be in automotive. Right? Is it software companies? Is it automotive companies? Is it big tech? Is it, you know, smaller startups? So automotive apparently still seems to be a very attractive place to be. So looking at software companies, building cars, Augustin mentioned that we see a lot of them struggling, going into bankruptcy and then popping up again. And we see a lot of rather conventional OEMs struggling to go into software. So I think eventually it will be about a symbiotic partnership in many cases. So there will be software companies that I'm pretty sure will succeed, turning themselves also into automotive manufacturers. But I'm also totally convinced and otherwise I wouldn't sit here, I guess, in my role, that conventional OEMs can turn themselves not necessarily into software companies, but into vehicle manufacturers with a strong software pillar that are able to build digital experience devices on wheels.
All right, Gilles.
Yeah, I think software has been the game changer in the past years, and the fact that we progressively move from combustion engine to electrical vehicle also reduce entry barrier for many newcomers. And these elements is an easy going, so to say, for newcomers, but has not proven them to be successful financially means. And I think the story is not to the end. And I think the competition is only starting now. The important points that never change. In a car, you have two big elements, non-safety parts and highly sophisticated safety parts. And you need to ensure both, enjoying driving experience, on the other end, bringing your passenger safely from point A to point B. And that is not something that you can learn in 5 months or 1 year. You need to collect decade of experience. And I think, I don't like the term traditional OEM, but big players in that industry have a huge advantage for me in that game, and they have a reputation on the market in bringing the right safety for the end user, and the constraints, the requirements around safety when it's come to level 2, level 3, and level 4 will not decrease. And my view, of course, we need to master the software complexity. I think we need to reinvent as well in the ecosystem the relationship between players, that we distribute the value and the value creation in the right way. On the other hand, I think it will not be either or. There will be new mobility solutions, there will be new players, new user experience, new business opportunity for new players. But I don't see that there is a one winning and the one losing at the end. You mentioned Apple recently, which is a big company if you look at the capitalization, at least. And they consider that it was not for them the right way to enter automotive space based on the complexity that you need to put in place from development through operation, manufacturing, supply chain, customer support, aftermarket maintenance, and all of these nice things we are used to manage as an industry player. Therefore, I think the story is just starting, and I'm very optimistic that we'll have nice talk and nice discussion. That
definitely. Let's take one question before we have one other poll. Move down a little. Is the EV hype over? So maybe the kind of main point here is the hype part, Augustin.
I would say it's not over. Yeah, it's just adjusting. And I'm in the mobility ecosystem roughly 15 years now. Yeah, and I mean I've seen many ups and downs from mobility services, etc. Yeah, it looks familiar. We have seen a phase where like pushed with subsidies or VC money, as we see in the US with the startups there, etc. Now, it's kind of we're in like a down phase. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that this will kind of stabilize as we have seen in other mobility services or transformations as well. Like one good example is Uber, for example. Yeah, I mean, when I started or worked for them, this was hyped like crazy, and then everyone thought, it's over, it's done. Yeah, and today we are using it. It's basically part of our daily life with the different services. And I would assume or could imagine that this will be the same as like EVs. Yeah, so it was hyped in the last years. If we look here in Europe or in Germany with the subsidies, if you look to China and the US, then also in the US with the VC money that was flowing in there in a different startup from Fisker, Rivian, Lucid, you name it, yeah. And now, it's the demand is not there as it was maybe in the last couple of years because of different reasons, but this will kind of stabilize and pick up again, and then we will have like a setup where we are all used to it, but it's maybe then not as hyped as before, and it's way more healthy than what we have seen in the past.
Anything to add from the two of you? I mean, we know hype cycles, and then doesn't mean that the EVs are over it.
I think we need to stay anti-fragile. Means I think EV will continue to evolve. Normalization is here. There will be some consolidation. We need to recognize this. And but EV has created new use cases which fit to portion of the population for this market. Therefore, I think for me it's normal evolution. If EV will be the main driver in 10 years from now, perhaps there will be additional and new technical solution. Let's see. I think we need to be flexible and stay agile in that game, because things are changing faster than we expected and that we experienced decades before.
Yeah. Michel, quick.
Yeah, for me it's far from over. Maybe the hype is over, but for me clearly EV is the future. I don't see any way around it. And of course, depending on the region you look at in the world, be it the African continent, South America, the development speed may be a bit different. We see that we're running in a couple of roadblocks. So the first movers are basically sort of like they bought their EV, but now we see that infrastructure is getting to its limits. So I think there's a ton of things that we have to figure out, but I don't see any way around EVs. If you look into the cost of development for internal combustion engines and meeting the emission regulations, I think it will be literally impossible 10 years from now to basically develop new internal combustion engines, and EV, especially with local emissions, that will then be zero. I think it's clearly is the way to go.
Okay, good, thank you. Well, we have one more poll for you. It's kind of starting the final round here of discussion on, let's say, the implementation of the transformation towards the software-defined vehicle. And what we'd like to ask you is what you consider to be the most important challenge in this transformation. And you have a couple of choices here, so please pick one and vote for these. And I will ask our experts here how they plan to overcome these challenges and what are operational modes basically in the industry to go forward. And what we see here in the beginning is the question of complex software development, testing and validation. Maybe I start with you, Michel, on this. How to overcome that challenge?
Yeah, I mean, totally. It is a huge challenge for us, and especially the bringing together the software development process with the vehicle development process that we've learned, and I would say as European manufacturers perfected over time. So now there's two different worlds that almost like clash. With the agile way of working on the one side versus waterfall on the other, with very hardware-driven development, thinking the vehicle outside in and now thinking inside out. So bringing that together also for us in the VW Group and at CARIAD is one of the key challenges. It has been one of the key challenges to overcome that challenge and to basically completely reset up the vehicle development process, starting with software and then actually building a vehicle on top of it. Clearly for me is also the key challenge.
Yeah, I'm also joining your opinion, and we have invested massively since now 3 or 4 years in virtual development, starting with complete twin of our system, having virtual model of our components, our products and subsystem. Why? Because we observed during complex projects that if we start from hardware development and build the software on top, we have to master the complexity of releasing the architecture and the system validation in a very short period of time, which is very complex, especially when complexity of software is increasing. Therefore, decoupling both and having virtual developments and hardware in the loop phase in the later stage help us to break down the complexity. And what we observe since a couple of years now, having this in place, is a significant improvement of the output, reduction of risk, which usually is appreciated over the supply chain, and mastering more complex things and able to faster and better reuse what was developed, because the difficulty we have in the industry is also to capitalize on building blocks that we can port and reuse across different contexts and regions. And I firmly believe that starting from virtual developments down to real means changing as well the development processes, having a validation of the architecture, software, and then porting on the hardware is the way to go.
Augustin, would you have answered the question in the same way? And what is your main?
Yeah, so I think I can't answer anything to what Michel and Gilles said. So I want to maybe shift the focus to a different point where I see also like a huge challenges. I mean, why is the industry moving towards software-defined vehicles? Also to have like a business case through the life cycle of the vehicles, and like talking to different players in the industry and also following the market. I think there's also like a huge challenge. Yeah, how to make then the business or the business case during the life cycle of the vehicle. Yeah? And there it comes then to user education, so that there are features then over lifetime they need to pay for, etc. And that we move to an industry or to a setup where they not just pay for the car at the beginning, like when they purchase the car, or like the leasing rate, that they're like also software service, etc. They need to pay for during then the usage phase. I think that's then also like a huge challenge built on top of the software-defined vehicles. We know all that GM, for example, and other OEMs have announced, okay, we will basically double our revenue and profits by then software services and features on demand during the lifetime of the vehicle. Like so far we see not that much that's successful. Yeah, so we all know the BMW heat seating example, etc., which was a nice test. Yeah, but I think that's then also like on top of the complexity that you both mentioned, something that needs to be figured out, how to basically build the business case over lifetime.
Okay, good.
But adding to what Augustin, what you said, I mean, we talk a lot about challenges that we need to overcome, complexity and whatnot. I think there's also a huge chance for all of us in it, because bringing in revenue over a complete life cycle of the vehicle is quite a game changer. Having direct customer contact, quite a game changer. So I believe that overall software is yes, it is a challenge, but it's more of an opportunity for us in the industry that we clearly need to address.
I want to say final round, one or two sentences. You're about to start opening up basically also then for the remainder of the conference. What is your kind of key wish to other players in the industry, in the ecosystem, with regard to collaboration, which is one of the key topics here as well, to reap the benefits, basically, to grasp the opportunities that lie ahead?
I think we need to avoid locking phenomena, because it does not help the industry. Second, we need to create enough standard solutions, interface that everyone can breathe and bring in its best value. And I think we need as well to change to some extent for the complexity we are talking about, the collaboration model in that industry, and as well the business conditions and model we should set between companies. Because as mentioned before, the job will not be finished when the car leaves the plant, but it's a duty to support over the lifetime of the car with software update, with new functions, to keep the customer always interested by new content into the car and maintaining the car. We mentioned as well cybersecurity, new firmware update, new function that will have to come into the car as you have regularly on your mobile phone. And that, of course, requires different activity business model that the entire industry is capable to digest it and to create value around it.
Okay, thank you. Augustin, final.
So, yeah, I think my wish is that we move from this product-driven like philosophy in the industry to like a really data-driven and customer-driven philosophy, and have the base with like understanding the customer. Yeah, most OEMs don't know their customer, and then basically start the feature development, software, hardware development from there. Before we ship then, or think about features and ship the features. What I see there in the industry is let's come together in some groups and think about nice features that could be interesting for our users without even asking the users or knowing something about the customers. I think this needs to stop. We really need to shift towards like a more data-driven, customer feature-driven setup, and then start the value chain from there.
Thank you. And Michel, final.
Yeah, and I would add, for me, really the biggest transformation in automotive history. And at the same time, if we get it right, also the biggest opportunity that we've seen in decades for us as an industry to push revenue moving forward.
Okay. Thank you very much to the three of you and to all of you. So